That's the right screen showing. So good afternoon, everyone. Like she said, my name is Rob Gray. I never use the Morris. It just somehow ends up in my email name on the UiB system. But I'm Associate Professor of University Pedagogy, and I'm usually the leader of our program for University Pedagogy. I'm on sabbatical this academic year, so the day-to-day operations I've given over to iEDLF, but Øystein asked me to give this talk, and I figured I'm probably in the best position to give that talk, and so I decided I would go ahead and do that despite my sabbatical status. I just want to talk quickly about our group and our program, and then some of the things that we do at the university. So we have, what is it now, 8 full-time staff in our group. Robert Kortz just joined us this fall in August, and we have Isabella Darcy as a stipendiate PhD candidate. And then Yael Harlap and Ivar Nordmo are temporarily in other positions at the university now. Yael is serving as Vice Dean for Education in the Faculty of Psychology, and so she's not teaching in our group, and Ivar is working in the in SA, working on learning spaces in the buildings department to help them design better places for students to learn. And so they're currently not participating in teaching, but they are in our group. And then mostly to take Ivar and Yael's place, we have a number of part-time staff in 20% positions now. We have Ulla Eggersbiela from Aarhus, Matt Russell from Texas, Ragnar Sandvall, who I guess works with Øystein in Tromsø, and Magnus Nor, who many of you probably know from Høgskolen i Østfold, and then Stina Bong Svensson from NTNU. And they're just helping teach in our program because we don't have the other two, but they're also bringing a lot of valuable things, and I'm not sure why that happened. So what we do at UiB, our main task and the reason that we were created in the first place is to offer the basic pedagogical certification program for all new permanent teaching staff. And that is largely what we did for 25 years or so. And then when digital technologies became much more prevalent, and a lot of the new initiatives from the ministry and from the central administration, our role keeps expanding and expanding and expanding. So, with the new regulations in 2019 that you have to have basic certification and then extra stuff to be able to go for professor, we needed to figure out a way to open up our program for everybody and not just the people in their first 2 years. We do a lot of committee work and other work across the university, anywhere where teaching and learning expertise is required. Like, we're often on the committees for excellent teaching practitioner evaluations, and anytime there's new programs being developed or redesigned, we get brought into that kind of work. We do a lot of work like that with the Learning Lab at UiB, which I'll talk about in a little bit. We also do, we're in scientific positions, so half of our time is to research teaching and learning in higher education, and for that we created a couple of years ago a research group called TELED, and I'll talk about that in a little bit, but we offer monthly events where we bring in people from around the world to talk about different teaching and learning issues, and we also present our own findings and research. And then we do a lot of individual consulting work for different departments and faculties and such. I mentioned we recently redesigned our program. We're in our 3rd semester of that program now. So technically we've done one whole round for the participants. In our old program, we had a capacity for 20 people a semester to go through the main basic course. And we were getting pressure from the university board to allow postdocs and PhDs into the systems, and the the new regulations basically said that it's assumed that people, when they're entering permanent positions, will already have this certification, and we wouldn't let people even get into the program until they were in a permanent position. So there was some tension there. So we tried to create a new program that would be more flexible for people, that they weren't locked into such a large course at one time, that they could take smaller pieces, and they could also have a lot of choice in what they wanted to focus on. And so we created 3 big courses, and then we've created probably 20 different smaller courses, and they have to take 6 of those of their choosing, but at least one of them has to do with supervision, one of them has to do with technology, and one of them has to do with equity and accessibility. But there are also ones on teaching strategies and assessment and all sorts of other topics. I won't go into that. If you want to ask questions about that, we can discuss that later, but I don't have that much time. I do want to mention our TELED research group, which has sort of taken on things that we never expected. It was created as a way to get people in our group to collaborate more on the research side of things. We teach together, work together in teaching, but we're all sort of doing individual things with research. And so we created this group to do that. And then we wanted to make it more inclusive around the campus. And so we invited people from each faculty to be on it. And then everybody we invited said yes. And so the group just kind of got out of hand. And now we have over 200 members in our group, which can't really function as a research group. So we have sort of 2 levels. One is sort of the core group, where mostly made up of people whose primary research interest is teaching and learning in higher education. And then we have people all around the world that participate in these monthly events. And I've listed quickly here the next 4 that we have, January through April. Kathy Boville is a major figure in academic development. She's also, I think, a 20% person in iEarth, if I'm not mistaken. She's giving a talk on the 25th of January. Aud Raham, who's technically the leader of TELED, will be giving one on the 23rd of February. Sohail Kotner, and the leader of BioSeed, will be doing one in March. We haven't nailed down the date yet, but it'll most likely be week 12. And then Jose Bowen, who is an internationally famous speaker, probably the best speaker I've ever seen on these kind of topics. And he's going to be doing one on April 21st. He got famous when he was at Southern Methodist University in Dallas. He since became a college professor, then he retired, and now he's working back at SMU teaching part-time. He's a jazz professor, and he created a lot of stir maybe 15 years ago, where he was the dean of fine arts at SMU, and he took all the technology out of the classrooms in his college, and it made a big stir. But what he talks about is how to use technology outside of class and use personal stuff inside of class. But that, so at UiB, which is different than Tromsø and Oslo, and I think increasingly at other universities in Norway, we have sort of 2 groups. We have our program for University Pedagogy, and we have the Learning Lab. And the original idea of the Learning Lab was that we would be very integrated, these 2 groups. And there was resistance from a lot of people in our group because of the way that the lab was originally sort of envisioned. And I have a cubicle over there. I spent some time over there quite regularly, at least before the pandemic I did. But we, and the reason that they wanted me to be the leader of our group 2 years ago was to try to increase that relationship. And we've tried really hard to build that. And now we're much more integrated than we used to be. But the Learning Lab is made up mostly of people who are project manager types, and there are a lot of media production people. And so they run it like projects. They get projects, and then they bring us in as members of each project team to work on program redesign or other kinds of initiatives that they are doing. And so we're still sort of the pedagogical expertise for the Learning Lab. but they do a lot of the how to get things done and getting things done, especially technical things. They provide a lot of technical support for our Canvas learning management system and for other learning technologies, and they do a lot of sort of learning design work and program support. And so they are under the central administration, and there are people from studio administration, there are people from communications department and IT, and they come and work, and they're sort of the interface between those administrative groups and the teaching and learning part of the university. And we collaborate with that quite extensively. And they also, in their facility at Media City Bergen, they have a couple of studios. They have a really nice video studio, and they have a really nice audio studio. They have some video editing areas, and then they also have, I think, 5 people that run all of that stuff and do a lot of media production. Very skilled professionals with cameras and editing. They also have equipment that people can borrow to make their own media productions. And like, we do all of our courses before the pandemic anyway. And when the pandemic sort of passes, we'll go back to offering our courses in their facility, mostly in their large learning room. But so it's 2 groups, but we're getting better and better at trying to feel like it's closer to one group. And I think that's all I have. So I will.
Thank you very much.
Sense.
We will have questions afterwards, but then we can just move forward to Øystein.
Hello everyone. Do you see the presentation screen now?
Yes, we do.
Very good, very good. Yes, and I would like to start with saying that 2 years ago, quite at this time, my team by then, the team for ICT and learning, we visited University of Bergen, and also your media, your learning lab, and it was very inspiring. So we had a lot of we enjoyed this our visit very much. But now to results. Resource Center for Teaching, Learning and Technology. And then we start to open the door to Result. And there we find 5 more doors. And it's important for me to say that these are not a metaphor for 5 departments. It's a metaphor for 5 different strategies, or 5 ways to contribute to quality of teaching at our university. We have no departments. We are by time being 15 persons with different competencies. We about half of us are are in academic positions, and the other half have competency in film, media, design, and ICT. And one of these competencies are, as you see, animation. We start with this sphere for 5 ways of working, or our 5 strategies are qualification, production, development support, management support, and research. And we start with qualification. And we give regularly, yearly, 3 main qualification courses. That is university educational basic course at these 200 hours for the participants, and we also give a yearly annual course for PhD supervisors, estimated to 60 to 100 hours, and we also have our course in teaching and learning in higher educations for PhD fellows at estimated to about 60 hours for the participants of work. And all these courses are hybrid, they are flexible, and they are scalable. And scalable here means that we can offer the course to everyone who is qualified to participate. That means that these fall, we started with 170 participants in our University Pedagogy course. And for us, that is an all-time high, I think. And from this fall, we also offer the courses both in Norwegian and English language. That goes for all courses. But we still have a plan to develop further. And our next goal is to offer university pedagogy at an advanced level, above a basic level. And our purpose is, of course, to support scientific career development for these who are going for a promotion. So this is more or less the main structure of our qualification courses. And then we go further to the next door, that is production. And there we produce a great variety and an increasing variety of learning resources. The most traditional is video presentations made in our studio, but we see a greater variety and with more, for instance, case presentations, on-site videos with field work, laboratory work, and also interviews, dialogues, podcasts, increasingly popular, and also streaming of events. And here, this is from our latest production. It was published this week, an interview on innovation theory. And then from production to development support. And in that, I think is we understand helping institutes in developing their own competencies. That includes giving workshops on demand, where their institutes decide both the time for this and also the size of the workshop, how long it takes. And we also have quite a number of digital learning resources, open digital learning resources for faculty members to support their teaching. For instance, topics popular when we are asked to have workshops is learning design. We have our own favorite model we are working, an Azure model. And student active learning are popular, is still a popular topic, using digital tools to promote interaction with students. Flipped classroom is still quite a popular concept, and also just producing and using video in teaching, to take some examples. And here is an example from our website showing a bit of our learning resources open to both faculty at our university, but also open for anyone who's interested in using them. And going further to management support, we also think that that is an important field to provide evaluations, investigations, project plans, or to participate in that kind of work to support decision making and strategy building at both level 1, 2, or 3 in our at our university. And there are several topics. We show some reports here on different topics, both on organizational questions, but also more on real scientific issues. And to go further, we have our research. We do research on basically on the field teaching and learning in higher education, but we have an approach on different levels, both on policy level, with our project now going to its final, its Slusen on qualification system and systems and study program management, and how these two could support each other. And we also have a project quite recently started at the student learning level, called Promoting Self-Regulated Learning by Systematic Development of Learning Design. And we are now decided to send an NFR application on the project on using simulation-based formative assessment in online studies. So then I sum up with showing a coming conference in February at our university, and that's kind of a final point to our Slusen research project, having this conference on providing a meeting place and also to sharing some of our experience after this project. So I think that was then we have been visiting all our 5 strategy rooms. So then I close the door and say thank you, and then I think it's room for questions and discussion. Thank you.
Thank you, Øystein, as well. Thank both Robert and Øystein for interesting talks and topics. So now, does anyone have questions for Robert or Øystein in educational development, teaching development? Lots of open doors here now.
Can I just quickly ask you, Øystein, thank you both, Robert and very interesting presentation. I just wonder about this conference. Was that like is that an open conference on national level, or what was the audience for that conference?
Yes, I can confirm that's an open conference on national level. So please just send email and you will have the link, and it's still possible to apply for and so it's still open. So just send me an email.
be great if you could send it to Thea so we can advertise it in the
I will. Yes. Good idea.
For a lot of people, I think, to do it.
Yeah, I will do that.
Thank you, Øystein, for a great presentation. Can I ask you these different reports that you were referring to? Are they available through your website?
They are all open and available from the university, because most of these reports we are participating, and a few of them we are our reports, but all these reports are open and should be available openly. So if there's then it could be most convenient if you send me an email and then I send you the digital report.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It seems as there's a lot of applied knowledge that could be really beneficial to use in several of the work that we do in iEarth.
Yeah, I would think so. And if I could add one thing that I thought I should mention, that was that in addition to our University Pedagogy course that is both flexible and scalable, we add on top of that quite a number of elective courses. And to my surprise, I saw that they were very popular because even if they are not, they are elective, they are not mandatory. We have quite a lot of participants on these courses, and that could be on use of video, on more into theory of learning. And it's also about assessment. So it's a number of topics that the participant can dig more into through these elective courses.
Further comments to even Rob here? He's not been. No.
I can ask you, Rob. I don't know how much you have been looking into this Erasmus Plus program that was recently.
I'm having a hard time hearing your microphone's not picking up well.
Oh.
Maybe I need to put, was that better?
That helps a lot.
Okay,
yes.
sorry. I probably didn't select the right microphone here. Yeah, I was just wondering about, have you looked at this Erasmus Plus announcement of this new program, all the money they are announcing now, 340 million for different types of development programs on an international level. Is that something that your research group has been involved in any of those programs?
That's something that we haven't looked closely at it, but we need to. I've I was gone most of the semester and haven't really been pushing on things, but I need to do that because that I've seen, I haven't looked deeply into it, but I've seen that, and I think that is something that we really need to look into. We've been a lot of what Ariel and I have been working on recently is, we had David Bowd, who's one of the major figures in feedback and alternative assessment in the world. He's in Australia, and he gave a talk for TELED in April. And so we've been working on a project with him to compare feedback practices in Norway and Denmark.
Yeah.
That's been what a lot of the group has been focusing on. And then another project that we've been doing is Yael Harlamp and I have been interviewing people. We're trying to interview people in 6 different countries around the world about how the pandemic has impacted not their teaching practices so much, but their thoughts and feelings about teaching. How is teaching under pandemic conditions changed their whole concept of what teaching is. Those have been the main things that I'm aware of that's going on in the tail ed group, but I think that is something that we need to look at. And would you be interested in collaborating with some of that?
Yeah, I was just looking into it. And I think for us in iEarth, it's clearly a lot of interesting opportunities to get a more international, out on an international level, on and also to collaborate with European colleagues on some of these things, because I think we have a lot of common ground. And also what Ivar is working on is geopraxis and relevance for society. There's also a lot of possibilities. So maybe that could be something to discuss in some kind of seminar over early next year, Robert. Maybe you could set up something for that.
Sounds perfect. Let me make a note of that so I don't forget with everything else.
Yeah.
Okay, super. Thank you.
Øystein, see you raised your hand.
Yes, if there are no more questions, I would like to add one more thing going on quite at the moment. And we are in internal strategy discussion this fall. And one of the main points we are discussing is that we think we do pretty well in delivering services to the university and to the academic staff, both in providing courses and also in producing learning resources, and also with coming up with workshops on demand. But we are asking ourselves, do we still have a potential on giving premises to the university as an organization on questions like what is good teaching, and also how can we facilitate development of good teaching on all levels and all departments at the university. So we deliver services, but could we also manage to be a more active part in the discussion at all levels at the university? And could we give more premises to the discussion at different levels at the university? So that is our quite open questions when we go into our strategy meetings here at our unit. And I don't know if you in Bergen, do you have any of the same discussions, or are you kind of feeling you are in the position when you where you want to be?
Are you directing that at me, I guess, or?
Yes, yeah.
So, yeah, that's something that we've tried to get a lot better at over the last 5 years or so, is being at the table for those kinds of conversations. We're often involved in, our Utdanningsutvalget, the central teaching and learning committee for the university. We're often involved in any of the initiatives that they do. We have, the Learning Lab has created these things called learning design teams that are in each faculty, so that people who are informed about, teaching and learning, what good teaching is, are basically playing a role in disseminating that through, different parts of the university. And I think something that started with BioSeed and I think is continuing with iEarth, and I think we need to be more intentional about it. And it's great that Sohoya Kutner, who's the leader of BioSeed, and both Øystein are here, is that you know, I got here not long after, sort of about the time I moved to Bergen, about the time that Bioseed started really having an impact in the biology department and the teaching and learning there. And that was really powerful at changing what was happening in that department. And then after a couple of years, it seemed to started impacting what was going on in the faculty. And then so iEarth in the same faculty, I think, can exponentially sort of increase that. But what I think we also need to work together to try to do is how can we then take that and make it more viral across the whole university? You know, what are these innovations? Because it was really amazing to me coming from an American university where the sciences were, the people in the hard sciences were like, don't talk to me about teaching, that's not important kind of stuff. And they were the least interested in developing their teaching. And then here you had people in biology department who read more of the current literature than I have sometimes. You know, they were really on the cutting edge of doing some cool things. And it was almost like this infectious, wonderful transformation that was going on. And how can we, and the thing that amazes me is there's a lot of money that goes into this FSUs. I mean, it's accounted for and has purposes, but some of the most transformative things that happen in that process don't need money. You know, a lot of the things that happen is just sort of this culture change. It's creating a culture, and the what's the word I'm looking for? You know, just the prestige that comes along with having this designation makes people buy in to, yes, this is something we should do. And it's that dialogue that sort of people start talking about these things, and hey, did you read this book, or did you read this article, and people just say, yeah, this is cool, this is important. And trying to get that to take hold across the campus is important, and something that else that I'm sort of picked a bad time to go on sabbatical, because of what I think we need to do is we have a lot of different groups around campus. Like we have TELED, which does have 200 people, and about 85 of them are from other universities around the world, but 120 or so of them are at UiB. And so that's one group that sort of stretches across things. And we have this frontrunners group that we developed when the pandemic hit, on getting some of the more advanced digital learning people to sort of help make connections through their faculty. Then we have the learning design groups, and we have the excellent teaching practitioners who in some faculties are called part of a pedagogical academy. And so we have all of these different sort of things going on, and how can we make them sort of pull together and not, you know, remake the wheel all the time, and how can they share their experiences in ways that creates a more powerful force for good across the university and not just in their local milieu. And how to do that, we're figuring out, but hopefully we can make some progress with that and start coming to the table together more often.